everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today for another episode of The Mentally Fit Athlete. My name is Lydia Garcia. I'm an associate clinical social worker, and I'm here with Dr. Jason Von Steets. He's a sports psychologist who specializes in OCD. So today,
Ah,
thanks for joining us so much for this conversation.
yeah, no problem. This is awesome. Uh, I'm happy to be talking about this stuff, about sports psychology, mental health, um, and how to help athletes. And I'm here with you, Lydia Garcia, an associate clinical social worker who's also a runner, um, a therapist, and you've got all kinds of cool stuff going on. Do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, so I specialize in sports psychology for female athletes, especially those who are a little bit more high performing or like on the perfectionism side, similar to you with some of those same qualities in our anxious athletes. But we're really focused on supporting our athletes beyond the sport. I think we both have that in common, where it's we want them to achieve all of their goals, and we want them to be able to apply a lot of this back to their
Yeah.
everyday life and into their futures.
Right, exactly. Yeah, APA, the American Psychological Association, Division 47, the one that focuses on sports psychology, defines sports psychology as helping athletes to perform to the upper limits of their abilities and to enjoy their sport more. And I think we often forget about that last part, the enjoyment, because if you're not enjoying it, then what is the purpose of sport? We want to be healthy. We want to um, have fun competing. We want to excel at something, do our best, and enjoyment is a really critical part of that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I see so many young athletes coming into my office who are just worried,
Hmm.
anxious about the next game or about a decision that they're making related to sport and forgetting to have fun. Like the fun piece and the enjoyment of the activity falls by the wayside in a way. Do you see that
Right.
too?
Yeah, absolutely. And I have worked with some youth sport athletes, some young athletes who are actually doing really well at their level, and sometimes they do a really good job of remembering to enjoy their sport, and that can help them to put in those extra hours to go to their different camps or clinics and to keep performing well. And then sometimes it's harder to remember to enjoy what you're doing. And athletes can become burnt out at a very young age. And maybe they um, are afraid to let their parents know that they're not really in love with their sport anymore and kind of want to quit, or maybe they've brought it up to their parents and it's a point of contention. Uh, but just remembering to enjoy your sport, take breaks from it, have another sport or another hobby other than just specializing in one sport is really important. Otherwise, someone can get really burnt out and maybe end up at the Division One university of their sport of their choice, and feel miserable, or maybe they can just drop out of sport altogether. But that enjoyment is really important, and there needs to be something in place, some kind of structure in place, so that athletes aren't only focusing on winning and their achievements, and they're actually enjoying what they're doing.
Yeah, and I've seen that too, that pressure to perform um, really weighing heavily on these athletes. And as you were kind of describing some of this, I work mostly with girls and women, and I'm wondering what you think about this. Like sometimes I'm noticing the pressure to perform almost being a little bit greater for some of these girls and female
Sure.
identifying athletes. And it seems there's also like a very strong competitiveness that we see sometimes stereotypically overall among women, but on sport teams as well. And my theory is that it kind of comes from like these sociocultural places where women really haven't had a lot of opportunities. We haven't had, there's not a lot of spaces. If there's a position, there's one position. if
Mm,
there's if there's a girls team, there is one girls team,
sure.
versus like there being multiple divisions for boys and men. um, and I think that like that scarcity type of piece adds an extra layer of pressure onto athleticism and might be a thief of some of that joy for
Sure.
even performing it, for engaging at all. So I guess that sort of like brings a little more thought into like our conversation of today, which is going to be, how do coaches and athletic trainers toe that line between like supporting their athlete and referring their athlete to for more professional support from someone like you or myself.
Sure. Yeah, good question. And to go back to the point you're making about girls and women in sport, um, yeah, I would be interested to know what the research says. I mean, in general, a scarcity of opportunity will lead to more anxiety, more competition. It's going to probably lead to more just general distress. Um, yeah, then it's hard to say if I've noticed more pressure or competitiveness in female athletes. But that's a really good question, and I have read that um, there can be more of more perfectionism in
Mhm.
female athletes, and there could be a need to um, yeah maybe just stay positive, appear as if nothing is wrong, everything is nice.
Reminds me of the
Uh,
meme with the little guy at the in the fire,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Life is going
exactly.
around you, but no, guys, we've got it under control.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Mhm.
and I have read about that, and in my experience, it appears to be true. Um, yeah, it'd be really interesting to see
Yeah.
if there is research on it. Um, and
Yeah,
then,
I've also heard female athletes also say things like, "Well, I don't want to tell my coach if I'm feeling a certain way. I don't want to tell my
sure,
coach if I'm nervous before a competition, or
sure,
if I'm not enjoying my school
yeah,
experience, um, or if I'm having conflict or relationship
right,
drama or breakup or something that's affecting their play because they don't want to appear weak."
sure,
Um, and so that's another place where like this mental health conversation comes in play, because they're your coach is there to coach you in the athletic in athletic performance. And to an extent, like, I mean, even for myself, I know that my own coach, if I'm going through something, he totally can pick it up just reading my heart rate data.
sure,
Like,
sure.
he
Mhm.
gets my results from a workout and he's like, okay, what else is going on? Because
Right,
are you not sleeping? Are you not eating? Like, there's different metrics. And so he like expresses genuine concern and then encourages me to um, figure it out, right,
right,
with the resources that I have as a therapist, but also an athlete
right,
who receives therapy,
right,
um, to support that mental side of sport and keep me balanced for daily life as well as
sure.
athletic life. And so how could we support coaches or athletic trainers in recognizing signals or signs that their athlete might need a little bit more mental support?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good question, and it starts with awareness. And you already pointed out the importance of catching the signals, catching the signs that an athlete is struggling with their mental health, uh, and um, a lot of coaches today are more familiar with mental health than coaches of the past. Mental health is much less stigmatized than it was in the past. In the past, you know, coaches wouldn't necessarily be uh, even they wouldn't even uh, necessarily agree that mental health is a thing. They might not even think that depression is a real thing. Maybe the athlete's just in a slump or is being lazy or whatever it might be. But today's coaches are much more aware and accepting of mental health. Now, there is still a little bit of a stigma. There can be some embarrassment or shame about talking to your coach about how you're doing. And athletes in general tend to minimize their mental health issues and want to appear to have it all together. Um, and athletes can often just kind of block out or not even be aware of their emotions because they're just so focused on working hard, blocking out the pain, blocking out the discomfort, and doing their best to achieve whatever their goal is. So that can lead to a lack of awareness on the part of the athlete. Um, so it starts with awareness, with coaches just recognizing when an athlete is feeling more depressed, more sad, compared to physically fatigued. Like, it helps to just be able to start seeing the differences because they can look very similar. When an athlete is fatigued, they're going to have low energy, their motivation is going to be down. They might even have a little bit of depressed mood, but not actually be depressed, but just have lower energy. And then when an athlete is depressed, they're going to have less energy. They're going to be irritable. They're going to lack motivation. So there's a lot of overlap. Uh,
Yeah. So I guess
uh,
this kind of like this sort of reminds me of a little bit of like Maslow's hierarchy of needs if you were to apply
sure,
that to an athlete.
sure,
But then also like could there be like a checklist for a
mhm,
coach? Like
sure,
so something that my coach tells me all the time is like, are we nailing the basics, right? Like, are you getting
mm,
enough sleep? Are you eating enough? Um, are you taking the time to recover in the right ways? Did I stretch? Probably not.
right,
But are you nailing the basics? Um, and if I'm nailing the basics and I'm still feeling anxious or depressed, would that be a time when my coach should say, "Hey, we've checked your ferritin levels, we've made
right.
sure that you're sleeping 9 to 10 hours a night, we've made sure like all these other things, like maybe you got to go see someone else." Is that the time, and would it be his responsibility or would it be my responsibility as an athlete to have that awareness? What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, those are good points, and no, I do agree. So when an athlete is overtrained or fatigued, if they take some rest, if they take a break, have an active rest day, or take a step away from their sport for a while, and then they feel better, then that is
And
indication
maybe it was
that
just fatigue. Yeah.
yeah,
Totally.
exactly, it was just fatigue. Um, if
And if
that
the
does,
symptoms persist, then it
mhm,
was something more. Is that what
yeah.
we're
Yeah,
Yeah.
most likely, most likely. And ultimately, it is up to the athlete to get help. There's that old saying: you can lead a horse to water, you can't force the horse to drink. So it is a responsibility, and definitely a best practice for a coach to encourage an athlete to seek help, maybe even get the athlete connected, walk them to the counseling center if you're at a college, or um, even maybe give the athlete a recommendation on a therapist or uh, some kind of sports psychology professional that they can talk to, or even make the phone call or write the email with the athlete. Those would be all like really helpful things to do. But then also, it is the responsibility of the athlete to actually attend the session
Yeah.
and to talk and to put those recommendations into action. Um, so
Yeah. I would
it
totally agree. And I gave you a hypothetical of like,
sure,
I'm actually not experiencing any of those things.
sure,
But and I'm also an adult, right? So
yeah,
like for me and a mental health professional. And so like, yeah, I have the awareness. I would understand how to do this. But
yeah,
if I were a 15, 16, 17, even 22-year-old
right,
um, athlete in high school or college, I might not have had the exposure to that to know the difference right before, or the messaging might have been a little bit different. So I love what you said about the coach being able to guide and sort of like scaffold this
hmm,
process of like I can write the email with you, I can walk you
right,
over to the counseling center, I can help show you and guide you just like I guide you through your sport. I can
hmm,
also guide you through this through the steps to get you what you need, while still holding that line of like that boundary of I am not a mental health professional. I am
right,
a professional at coaching you in baseball, soccer, track, whatever it is, right? They are
right,
expert at their sport. They are not necessarily expert at the um, at the mental health issue that the athlete might be experiencing. So
right,
I love that the that that opportunity for the coach to provide their athlete with the exact resources that they
hmm,
might need. So
yeah.
yeah, do you think, I mean, I know the answer to this is going to be yes, but yeah, do you think coaches should have almost a little Rolodex of like, here are some resources? Do you think that that should become more standard, just like maybe they have a PT
Sure.
on, that they can refer to, or a chiropractor or something. They also have like, here's a therapist who works well with these issues.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that'd be a really good idea. Um, I would imagine a lot of athletes, especially younger athletes today, are much more open to mental health than athletes of the past. I would guess that a lot of athletes today, the younger athletes, would also prefer some kind of app. There apps like uh, whatever they're called. I won't name them right now, but they can be very popular.
Can't
There's
name them
pros and
until they're
cons.
sponsoring us.
Yeah, exactly. And there are pros and cons to
Sure.
using those apps. They work
Mhm.
great for some people. I've talked to other people who haven't had great experiences. If you know somebody, if you actually know somebody, then that would be ideal. So it's also up to therapists and to sports psychology professionals to build relationships with coaches so that a coach will know you and trust you, and it's even better if you can have a relationship with the team, make your presence known, give them presentations here and there, give them helpful skills, and then beyond that, if if they are open to more help, then they can know you're around and reach out to you that way.
Yeah.
But absolutely, a coach having a list of resources, whether it's a handout or a workbook or a person to get connected to, like those are great.
Yeah. I like to sort of remind people too that like there is no shame in saying like, hey, I can't help you with that.
Sure.
Here's someone who can. It's the same to I try to parallel it to like, I can't do your hair, right? I'm not gonna give you a great haircut. If you hand me
Sure.
some scissors, it's gonna look
Sure.
crazy. But
Oh, I'm
here is a
disappointed.
here's a hairdresser here's a salon that I
Sure.
trust, right?
Sure.
Here's someone who's going to give you the exact outcome,
Yeah.
the look that you're showing me on this
Yeah.
page in your Pinterest boards.
Yeah.
They're going to be able to do your hair like that.
Yeah.
So
And I
I
was
like
going
to
to
sort of
ask,
like
but
remind people in those kinds of ways, right? Don't ask
yeah,
me to cut your hair.
yeah.
But if you need
Okay.
me to help you with some coping strategies around anxiety or pre-race anxiety, or if there's something more that's going on that's affecting your game, like I'm your girl.
Yeah. Yeah. And coaches spend a lot of time with their athletes, and they often know what motivates an athlete, and oftentimes athletes will feel comfortable and want to open up and really use their coach and their team for that emotional support, and all of that's really good. And then there is a point where, a coach should refer them to some kind of professional. And it's always in real life, it's always a little bit tricky to know when to do that. But I guess I would say that one of the main things would just be, is the athletes distress or whatever's going on, their emotion, is it interfering with their daily life? Is it interfering with their ability to function in sport, in school, at work, within their family? And if it is, then that's when they should be referred to a professional. And
And maybe
it's a,
even like, yeah, sorry. I was going to just add, like, maybe even like going hand in hand with that, is this athlete's distress interfering with the coach's ability
sure,
to do their job for
right,
not only this athlete but for the rest of the athletes on their roster.
right,
So they're like, coaches being comfortable kindly referring clients or referring their athletes out to therapy without that athlete feeling like feeling rejection, maybe like
right,
coaches understanding or having that vocabulary to say, like, I understand that you're going through a lot and I can help you up to this point. Here's where I want you to go next.
right,
Without having the athlete feel blamed or shamed, but the
sure.
coach paying attention to their own capacity. Because as we know as therapists, sometimes it can get, sometimes things can get heavy,
Hmm.
and it's hard to carry if you aren't prepared.
Right, yeah. And it's not the responsibility of the coach to solve some kind of mental health problem, or to uh, make sure that um, yeah, it's not the responsibility of the coach to play the role of a therapist. I mean, of course, as a coach, you care, or if you are a friend, you care about your friend. Um, but just like with a physical injury, you would listen to the person, you would give them a ride to their doctor's appointment if they asked you, if it's your friend. Um, you would walk them to the training room if you're a coach and it's an athlete, but you wouldn't try to treat the physical injury yourself.
Right.
So when it comes to some kind of mental health issue, you want to listen to them, you want to be supportive, and it's not your job to try to solve whatever's going on, and you shouldn't. You should
Right.
refer them to a professional, and it can help to just kind of um, do what you can to destigmatize mental health ahead of time. It can be a really good idea to have mental health screeners for athletes, where they spend a little bit of time talking to a therapist and going over a short questionnaire about mental health, and then just let them know that there's no shame and that they have resources available to them. Or if you're on some kind of um, uh, maybe like a semi-professional team or something where you don't have those resources, as a coach, you can still let your athletes know that you take mental health seriously. You can just say that on day one of practice. We take physical health seriously. We take mental health seriously. If you need help, if you're struggling with depression, anxiety, anything like that, talk to me and I'll get you connected to a professional. And maybe that's all a coach needs to say. Just, I'm not a mental health professional, but I'll listen to you. I'll talk to you, and I'll get you connected to somebody who's a professional. And that could go a long way.
And I think just too, like a reminder that there's even more than that, more than depression, and anxiety for athletes.
Sure,
I mean, those are two big common ones, but we also have, like, well, along with something that comes with depression would be like suicidality,
sure,
or
yeah,
there's substance abuse, or maybe there's family trauma or things like that that are coming through. Maybe it's even back to like a little bit of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like
Mhm.
worries about finances or living condition. um, i'm thinking about I'm thinking about the documentary, The Weight of Gold, and how many Olympians were there talking about the scarcity in resources. Everyone thinks that like once you reach this high level, you're making millions of dollars, but the
Right.
truth is athletes are not. They're putting everything into that 4 year cycle, and then maybe having trouble paying rent. And so like there are those elements also that can be stressors that impact a person's ability to reach their goals, or to feel
Mhm.
that to feel that they have self-worth. And I think about those pieces as a social worker, because that's what social work also ties into those resources of how do I help you on a on those basic needs levels. Maybe someone just needs to learn how to, well, not just, but maybe something that would help would be um, connecting your athlete with like SNAP benefits, just so that we
Right.
know that you have nutritious food that you can access. Things like that, that
Yeah.
might feel stigmatizing or shameful, but really would be there to, but access to it would make such a big difference to that athlete's overall well-being.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. I think that those are all really great points, and athletes are just whole people. They're complete people, and they have all the needs of everybody else. So they might not be eating regularly. I can think of at least one story of famous athletes, the Diaz brothers from MMA. They got into jujitsu because they didn't have money for food. They found out that if they went to jujitsu, then at the end of practice, the older guys would buy them a burrito from a burrito truck. So then they started doing jujitsu, and then they would have fun, and then they would get their food, and then they turned it into a career. So there are plenty of stories of athletes getting their one meal from their team or from their coach. So coaches,
Yeah.
coaches are people too, so they might not have the resources. But if the coach has resources for Cliff Bars, different things like that to just have around, that could be really helpful.
Yeah.
Knowing the different programs. You mentioned Snap. That could be really helpful. And then I don't think we have time to really get into it today, but athletes will also have suicidal thoughts sometimes or be in some kind of crisis. So there's 988. Then hopefully I'm remembering that right. If I'm
Yes,
not,
it is.
we'll
It's
add a note.
988. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. So an athlete
It
could just call 988 or even just Google search 988, and then they'll see resources. They could chat with somebody or have a phone call. So these are all really important things for coaches and for athletes to be aware of.
Yes, I agree. Yeah. Any final thoughts on this before we wrap up today? No, there is so
Yeah.
much more to talk about, but
Yeah.
in the interest of time and to spare all your ears, we will. We want this information to sort of marinate a
Yeah.
little bit and for you to process it,
Yeah.
um, and we can continue just as these conversations go.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I guess yeah. I'll just say if you're a coach or an athletic trainer or even some kind of administrator in an athletic program, um, learning about mental health can feel overwhelming, but it just takes time. You just learn a little bit here and there, and you have your professionals that you can refer to, and I think it's a really helpful, important thing to learn about. But then also, you don't have to take it all on by yourself. And um, if you just uh, are, a sounding board for an athlete, and then get them connected to a mental health professional, or sit with them and do a Google search for resources that they might need, then that right there is going to go a long way, and you don't have to feel the pressure of um, the weight of the world on you, and you don't need to know everything right now.
Yeah, yeah. It's wonderful to have community and to
Yeah.
be able to rely on the resources that are all around us. And I think sometimes as athletes or as coaches, it could be easy to forget that there is more than the bubble of the team and performance. There's so many more people surrounding these spaces within our community that only amp up performance
Yeah,
and overall well-being, because these, at the end of the day, we all are, um, we might be like therapist or athlete or coach, but we are also more than that. You know, we each hold so many more identities in our daily lives.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, very well said. And then I guess the last takeaway is uh, just don't ask Lydia for a haircut. Uh,
No, don't
that's
ask me for
that's
a haircut. Can't
that's
do
not what she does.
it.
Yeah. So that
Well,
I'll
thank you
just
so much. Thank you so
uh,
much. Thank you so much for joining us today. Um, Jason, how could we find you?
well, you can go to drjasonvonsteets.com. Then you can also find me on Instagram at CBT Sports Psych. How can people
Yeah,
find you, Lydia?
yeah. People can email me at Lydia, Lidia dot Garcia, Garcia dot MSW at gmail.com, or find me on Instagram at Liddy G, Liddie dot G.
All right, sounds good. And then we'll have to make this a part one and do a part two before too long.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Bye.